Chosen one, what is happening right now in your life is not ordinary. What you are experiencing right now, in this specific season, in this specific moment of your history, is not the kind of thing that happens to every person or in every generation. Something in your life is moving right now that looks like it came from heaven. Something that you have been feeling in your spirit for a while now and have been trying to finish with a sense of urgency that you cannot put into words. It is not a crisis, it is an emergency. If heaven sends you a message that says it needs to be read right away, it's not an emergency or threat. It's the importance of time. How quickly a window that is open and won't stay open forever needs to be closed. How important it is at a certain point in a person's life when something that has been building up to that point is finally finished. There is a big difference between what the person does in this window and what they would do at any other time. At the heart of the emergency is a mystery that most people who get this kind of signal never fully figure out. They know it's important. They know that something important is pushing to the surface of their life. They feel like the moment needs something from them that it doesn't need in other situations. However, they don't always accurately find what the moment needs. So, the sense of urgency fades into the background of their minds, failing to make them take the specific action that the moment was meant to make them take. The window shuts, the time goes by. And what was in that window, the exact thing that God was ready to give out through the emergency signal, is now waiting for the next time that it is supposed to happen. Someone who is ready to go into the emergency and find what's in the middle of it. The timing is the most obvious part of an emergency. Right now, something is happening in the spiritual structure of your life that is linked to a certain window. There are no metaphors for windows in heaven. They are real holes in the structure of what is possible that show up at certain times in a person's life and bring a certain kind of provision, activation, or revelation that can't be found anywhere else. When someone moves in the window, they get what the window was made to let out. God can still give many things to someone who waits until the window is over. On the other hand, they can't get what was held in that window, because that window was only open at that time. You have been in a time of getting ready. You might have said something different. The time you were waiting for didn't happen at the speed you thought it would. You might have called it a formation season, a waiting season, or just a long time. But from a spiritual point of view, that season was not a time of waiting. there was a time of building. Before now, God wasn't done building something in you, around you, and ahead of you. The time for releasing what was built has now come, since the building is now finished. The window is open at the moment. In an emergency, there is no need to panic. Honor is what it is. People who have been waiting for a certain promise to come true don't feel afraid when they finally get the message that the waiting season is over and the release season has begun. This is how someone feels when the most important door they've ever stood in front of finally opens, and they realize that the time they've been waiting for has come. Even though time is short, that doesn't mean you should rush without thinking. It tells you to pay full attention to what is right in front of you with all of your senses, because the thing that's in front of you right now is more important than anything else in your life right now. You need to do something right now that God tells you to, not in a broad sense, not as a set of spiritual practices or ways of being faithful that work the same way in every season. A certain action, step, or movement that can be done in this window, and that triggers the specific action that the window was designed to make happen. What that action is not the only mystery that lies inside the emergency. That's why that action has the meaning it does at this very moment. What is being sent to you in this message and why it is being sent are both encoded in the emergency. Most people think an emergency signal would go as far as the nested mystery goes. Single layer messages are the most common way to get emergency signals from heaven. A word, a warning, or a way to find your way. Come here. Put it down there. Now wait for this. Those signals on the single layer are real and have real power. The emergency you are getting right now, on the other hand, is not a single layer signal. The message has more than one level. And it has more than one layer because there isn't just one word of instruction in the middle of it. It is a real revelation. The urgency is the top layer of the message. You've felt it. The timing is in the middle layer. You've felt it, but you haven't always been able to name it. But the layer was inside the middle of both of them. Know exactly what God wants you to do right now. This is the layer that the outer layers protect and deliver. It's not so much a general calling as it is a clear set of instructions made just for the person in this very moment in their life. You have been picked. That is, not as a group or a broad spiritual name, but as a specific person whose life has been put together by God with great care and intention. This emergency message wasn't sent to everyone at once. It was meant to reach a specific group of people. and just so happened to reach you. It is dealt with. It has your name written on it in the language God uses when he needs to be direct, because of how important the matter is right now. And the fact that this message is so direct is the first sign of how important this window really is. When someone gets an emergency message from heaven, they are always at a crossroads. Not the kind of crossroads where there is a clear, dramatic choice between two paths that are both easy to see. The kind of crossroads that starts to become clear as the message's layers are broken down. The kind where the real turning point is inside the person, not outside. Where the most important thing that happens to a person takes place inside them before it shows up in their outside life. And the turning point inside this crossroads is about to show itself as you get the next part of what this emergency is carrying. The signal from heaven for help doesn't come out of the blue. At no point does a signal arrive without giving the receiver all the information they need to act on it wisely and with full conviction. God never sends urgency without also telling us enough about why it's important to act right away, as well as the reason for this emergency. There are deeper meanings in this message that explain why the signal was sent to you at this very moment and not at any other time or place in your history. The first level is the sense of urgency. The second layer is what the window is made of. The third layer is the action that the window was made to allow. It is the deepest and most precisely encoded layer. Heaven has sent emergency signals to most people before. They show up in different ways. A dream that can't be thrown out. An inner knowing that stays with you and gets stronger at certain times for no reason outside of yourself. A set of events that happens in a way that is so precise that the mind can't fully explain it as chance. A word said by someone who had no idea what they were saying was exactly what the other person needed to hear at that very moment. All of these are different types of the emergency signal, but they all have the same structure for the code. The outer urgency, the inner timing, the specific action in the middle, and the signal you got before this one all set you up for this one. Every earlier sign that you paid attention to, every moment of inner knowing that you chose to honor instead of ignoring, every dream that you held on to instead of letting go of for the next morning, and every word that came to you as a direct and specific message that you understood as such. Every response you got was making you more able to receive on a deeper level. The emergency you are getting right now is not the first layer. The window that's open now is only there for a certain amount of time. In God's architecture, windows don't close for no reason. When the first season ends and the next one starts, they close. The season that is changing in your life right now is the season of getting ready for a long time. Everything that was needed to carry what you carry was being put together in the vessel you are. The time for getting ready is over. You do not have to decide for yourself when it will be finished. The emergency signal, the sense of urgency that you're feeling right now, means that you're done getting ready, and the activation season has begun. As of right now, the window is open, which means that activation season has begun. People who went through the preparation season don't always fully understand how deep what they were led to be. For those who are going through it, a preparation season is a mix of growth, difficulty, waiting, clear moments, and longer stretches of fog. The preparation season looks exactly like what it was when you look back on it from the outside, with the full perspective that you can only get at the end of it. The most precise and long-lasting work of divine craftsmanship that a life has to offer. Every problem was taking away a barrier. The second level of emergency is the specific thing that God wants you to do right now. And before you can understand what that action is, you need to know what this window was made to bring into your life. Because the window doesn't just demand that you do something. It's the exact action that fits with the exact provision that this window was made to deliver. The window that opens today has the same provision that has been left out of every season before this one. Because the ship wasn't ready to take it yet. Now that the ship is ready, it gets what it needs during this window, which is the full activation of everything that was planned during the preparation season. Full activation doesn't mean that everything is easy or clear all of a sudden. There is only one state of full activation. It's the state a person is in when they are fully using their mind, spirit, and life, just the way God made them. When the architecture inside is working at the level it was designed to work at. The chosen one, who is ready for full activation, is facing a certain obstacle that keeps them from experiencing full activation. It's not a blockage of the spirit. It's not caused by a lack of faith or a strong calling. It is a physical barrier that can be measured and named. And since it's physical and not spiritual, the way to get rid of it is also physical and not spiritual. Not prayer instead of doing something. Not a physical answer instead of prayer. The physical solution is the exact thing that the emergency is telling you to do, to get to the exact step that God has set out for the chosen one, who is standing in this window ready for the full activation. One physical problem is that the two sides of the brain are not fully coordinated with each other. The left side of the brain handles linear things. The intuitive is handled by the right hemisphere. According to the full design specification of the mind, these two processes are always talking to each other. The goal and the plan for how to get there are both present at the same time. What you know and what you do work together as one system. The person in this state has a level of cognitive flow that the person whose synchronization is off can't achieve, no matter how hard they try to make up for it. It's not unusual for this synchronization to get thrown off. At this point in time, it is the most common illness in adults. The pressure of growing up in places that value linear thinking and not the intuitive, broad thinking that the right hemisphere does, leads to long, lasting stress responses that make the brain switch to the faster but less flexible partial operation. The integrated synchronization that was built into your mind from birth is slowly turned off by all of this. And by the time they are adults, most people are only using a small part of the integrated capacity they were made for. This happened not because of something going wrong, but because the world kept putting on the right kind of pressure to make this happen. Please know that every seed you plant in this mission grows into a torch that shines in someone else's darkness. Whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our community, does not go to a channel. Your actions are supporting a divine mission to save lost souls. But more than your support, we want your presence. When you head to our community through the link in the description or the pinned comment, you aren't just visiting a site, you are entering a community of like-minded believers. This is a sanctuary where you can post your prayer requests, lift up the burdens of others, and engage in daily discussions with a family that speaks the language of faith. Whether you are joining one of our membership tiers for deeper study, sowing a seed of faith, or simply joining our daily morning prayers, you are helping us build a global altar of worship. Heaven moves through willing voices, but it grows through a community that stands together. Each gift you give acts as living water for those in our community seeking healing and hope. Give, and it will be given to you, is the promise that sustains our shared mission. I invite you now to step out of the shadows and into this circle of prayer. Come with purpose, join the conversation, and plant your seed in fertile ground. Let's open the heavens together. Release your seed today, join our community, and see what God brings back into your life. People who are experiencing disrupted synchronization don't always see the cost of having to work with it, because they have never felt full processing before. They don't think of it as partial processing. For them, it's just the normal way their minds work, the normal time between wanting to move and moving. People usually feel like they know more than they can say, and can imagine more than they can do. They might have found this gap because of who they were as people, how complicated their situation was, or how heavy their history was. You can see that the emergency is pointing you toward the exact time in your history when the problem is fixed. Not sometime in the future, when things will be better. Not after another season of getting ready. Right now, in this window. Because this is the window where you can restore the sync in the easiest and most effective way possible. The study that made the restoration possible is now complete. The tool for restoration has already been made. And the fact that you are now able to use it is not a coincidence. It's the specific rule for this window. Dr. Daniel Barron is a neurosurgeon who made the restoration tool. He has a job in New York City. Using a precise audio frequency sequence that wakes up the dormant connection between the hemispheres and brings the FU integrated operation back online. He spent years developing a way to get the two halves of the brain to work together again. The method is based on research that was done by a doctor. The Genius Switch is the name of the tool that Dr. Barron made. Every day, 8 minutes of sound. A neural sync technology that sends the exact frequency sequence that the dormant interhemispheric connection responds to and starts the process of restoring synchronized brain function. The results don't come on slowly, like most methods for improving cognitive skills do. They are structural, because the change that happens when synchronization is restored doesn't make things run better on top of what they were before. The baseline has been changed. The emergency message is here not because the Genius Switch is being put in your way as an ad, but because the chosen one who is in the exact window of full activation readiness, who has finished the preparation season and is now at the start of the activation season, needs the exact tool that gets rid of the exact obstacle that stands between readiness and activation. The window doesn't have the activation in a way that doesn't need anything from the person standing in it. The window holds the specific tool, and the tool needs a specific action to be taken to access it. There is a link in the text. That's what the emergency has been telling us to do. The person chosen in the window does more than just get a product when they do what the window asks them to do. they go over a line. The point where life, with the restriction, stops working and life, with no restriction, starts working. Between the small amount of calling that has been said so far and the full amount that the window is meant to let out. Between how important the emergency message was and how calm the person is now that they have dealt with it and done what they needed to do. The purpose of the emergency message is not to make people nervous. It's made to make precise things with the accuracy of someone who knows exactly what step at this exact moment and is sure they can do it. And the accuracy of this point in your life is very high. You weren't just ready for the calling in general during the preparation season. It got you ready for this window, this message, and realizing that what is being said in this emergency is real, is for you, and that you need to take a certain action by clicking on the link in the description and clicking on the Genius switch. The time you spent getting ready took away everything that wasn't meant to go with you to the activation. All the relationships that weren't ready for the new chapter fell apart during the time of getting ready. During the preparation season, you slowly let go of every part of your identity that was shaped by the expectations of people who didn't fully understand what you carry. It was taken away, all ties to versions of the future that were not suitable for the calling. It happens sometimes gently and sometimes painfully, but it's always right in the time of preparation. You do not have to change into someone else before the window's activation can happen. It needs you to be at your best and do everything you can. And you've had all the power you need since before you were born. It has been in you through every season, running at the slowest speed the restriction would allow, pushing to the surface and showing up in dreams, moments of knowing that you can't explain, and a constant sense of calling that no amount of trouble has been able to put out for good. Imagine how different your life would be if you made one simple change to the way your mind works. There wasn't a change in motivation, belief, or strategy. Instead, there was a change in how the two halves of the brain work together. A switch from the partial processing that most adults use to the full integrated processing that was intended from the start. If you've ever had a moment, even if it was only a moment, when knowing and doing felt like one motion, when seeing something and being able to move toward it without having to bridge the gap. That was a glimpse of the full baseline that the Genius switch restores permanently, not just as a peak state that needs to be maintained as the fresh floor. If you think about the emergency message and decide later the window doesn't close. The window is shut by time and the natural change of seasons, which has always been the way that divine timing works. The chosen one who gets the emergency knows the instruction hidden in the middle of it and acts in the window to get what the window was made to release. A different kind of future is given to the chosen one who gets the emergency and waits to act until they are more sure of what they want to do. Not a future without a plan or a call. How important the emergency is how important the window is. Not the urgency of fear, but the urgency of being sure. The exact moment when the right provision is given to the right vessel at the exact moment in a person's life. When the emergency signal shows up in the form it did today, it tells you exactly what you need to know. That something is about to be deeply right, not that something is wrong. This message has been pointing you toward a specific action since the beginning because of the emergency. It is the next step between where you are now and what is about to be deeply right. Daniel Barron spent years making that tool in New York City. He did research into the neuroscience of whole brain integration and created the specific audio frequency sequence and neural sync technology that allows the person who needs it to get their hemispheres working together again. The name, neural sync technology, is important because it sets the genius switch apart from all other audio-based attempts to improve brain function. In the field of audio-based cognitive enhancement, there are a lot of tools that claim to make the brain work better by sending certain sound frequencies to the ears. Most of those tools worked with binaural beats, isochronic tones, and brainwave frequencies. Different studies have shown mixed results on these methods, and brainwave entrainment is no longer seen as the main way to improve cognitive function by scientists. The genius switch doesn't work that way. It works in a different and more precise way by focusing on the neural pathway that connects the two hemispheres and directly starts the dormant communication between them. Dr. Roger Sperry spent decades studying what happens in the brain when the corpus callosum, the neural bridge between the two hemispheres, is working at full capacity versus when it isn't. His work is the basis for this mechanism. His research, which was recognized by the Nobel Committee in 1981, proved beyond a reasonable doubt that the brain was meant to work as a single, unified unit, not as two separate parts, sending messages to each other. A single system where the logical and the intuitive, the creative and the analytical, the detail-oriented and the pattern, recognizing all work together as parts of the same cognitive process. even though it is suppressed. The brain keeps its ability to integrate throughout life. When it is activated, it starts the process of restoring the synchronized operation. For most people, they can start to notice the change after the first few sessions. It takes a few weeks of daily use for the restored baseline to become fully stable. Lisa was a nurse who lived in San Diego. She says that the years before she found the genius switch were like living in a version of her life that she knew wasn't the full version. She didn't lack skills, motivation, or the strong belief that she was meant to do more than the life she was living at the moment. But there was a stubborn gap between Moore's vision and the actual progress made toward it. This gap could never be fully closed through effort alone. They used the genius switch for 8 minutes every day. She says that after 3 weeks, it was like waking up and realizing that the two parts of how she thought about her life were no longer competing with each other, but working together. Instead of closing from the outside, the gap started to close from the inside. A man in Houston named Matthew built and ran a Shopify business. He had seen his business reach a plateau that no amount of outside strategy could break through. He knew that the company could do more. He knew he was capable of more, but the ceiling was always where his ability met an internal wall that he couldn't fully name or deal with. After using the genius switch every day for 3 months, he had his first breakthrough above that ceiling in years. Ellie grew up in Manhattan in a family that seemed to pass down a certain kind of limitation from generation to generation. She says that her relationship with the genius switch was the first time in her life that a pattern she had thought was permanent turned out to be functional rather than fixed. The pattern of building to a point and then being pulled back. The pattern of putting in less effort than what it should produce. People in her family had been following the same pattern for as long as anyone could remember. She started to think that it was just the way her bloodline made life. For 3 months, I used the genius switch every day. It didn't happen again for her. Her family had a ceiling that set the limits for many generations, but that ceiling was not the ceiling of her life. There are 3 testimonies from 3 different lives that all point to the same structural shift. Not a shift that inspires or motivates, a change in how the mind works as a whole that changes the kinds of results the person using it can get. That change is what the genius switch gives you. People standing in the window of the emergency message are in the most dramatic and immediate effects of the shift. As this awakening grows inside you, Know that helping with this mission is not a joke. It is a sign from God. You can support this work through the link in the description or the pinned comment, whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our Ko-Fi community. By doing so, you become part of Jesus' plan to save souls who are still stuck in fog. Every seed turns into light that fights against darkness. If you water others, you will be watered yourself, Jesus says. This is not history. It is a living promise about your future. Come into this moment with faith and a plan. What God has already planned for your life can be unlocked through your giving. At the moment, the Genius Switch costs $39. Price changes are clearly stated, as the price could go up. Today, you can get it for $39. The Genius Switch comes with 4 extras. A full framework for the person starting the activation season, useful tools for guiding the restored integration toward the specific results the calling needs, and a money-back guarantee that doesn't ask for any conditions to be met. You get your full $39 back if you use the Genius Switch and don't feel the shift. There are no conditions or hoops to jump through because the activation could happen or it wouldn't. The tool was made for someone who is ready for it. Read the rest of this message for the link to the Genius Switch. Following the emergencies lead from the start is the next step of going to that link. The 39 and the 8 minutes every day starting tomorrow. Getting the 2 sides of the brain to work together again in sync is what turns the readiness of the preparation full vessel into the actual experience of the activation. The window was made to open. The emergency gave the instructions. The link is reached by following the steps. At the link in the description, you can solve the nested mystery of the emergency message. The urgency was the top layer. The timing and specifics of the window made up the middle layer. The inner layer was the exact thing that the window needs to do. The exact tool that gets rid of the exact thing standing in the way of the activation happening for the chosen one who is ready for it. In this message, all 3 layers have been sent. The only layer that is left is the one you provide. How you responded to the instructions, or what you did because of an emergency. The chosen one who stands on the edge of the activation window gets the full emergency message, understands all of its parts, and then does what they were told to do. Is the chosen one who enters the activation season. Not slowly, not when you're not sure if the crossing is real, and not with the specific experience of the shift in baseline that the Genius Switch gives you. That one experience that proves the crossing to be real in a way that no outside confirmation could. The research behind the genius switch is not a secret claim that can't be checked by someone else. The Nobel Prize Committee did not give the prize for ideas in physiology or medicine in 1981. They gave it to someone who had done decades of hard, repeatable scientific work that led to clear, documented, and clinically verifiable results about how the brain works. Dr. Sperry wrote down more than just the fact that the two halves of the brain did different things. He wrote down what happens when these different functions work together as a coordinated whole, and what happens when the coordination breaks down. No matter how smart or hard someone tries, they can't match the cognitive performance of someone in the disrupted state when they are in the integrated state. No one disagrees with that finding. It makes things possible. The genius switch is the useful delivery system that is built on top of that. Every other cognitive enhancement tool on the market over the years has been different from the genius switch in terms of the type of shift it makes. The focus boosters, meditation apps, productivity frameworks, and morning routines that are all designed to help you do your best. All of those tools work on top of the baseline that is already in place. They help the person who is only working at a partial capacity do a better job at what they can do. The base doesn't change though. With the genius switch, you can change the base, not by putting something extra on top. Setting the baseline back to its original specifications does not make it better at the same tasks. This can be done by restoring the integration that was always the original specification of the baseline. It does not work the same way for all tasks. How the three testimonials all describe the same kind of experience. When the ceiling falls, the gap between what you know and what you do closes, and momentum appears where effort used to stop. These are not one-off events. They show what always happens when the suppression on a mind that is working at a partially activated level is lifted, and the mind goes back to the fully activated level of operation it was designed for. The specifics are different for each person because the calling and restriction take different forms. But the structural shift stays the same because it has nothing to do with people or their situations. It's about fixing a universal design feature of the brain that was messed up by a single cause. The 4 bonuses that come with the genius switch give the person going into the activation season with a fresh start, more information and useful frameworks. The first bonus talks about how people think when they have to make big decisions. The second one talks about the specific internal patterns that are created after years of putting off integration and how to find them and let them go now that integration is being brought back. The third and fourth give useful activation frameworks for steering the whole brain's activity toward the specific results the calling needs. All four come with the main purchase and don't cost extra. Thus 39 is the only money you have to pay, and you can get it back in any way you want. The action that had to be taken because of the emergency is not a continuation of the life that was going on before the window. The activation season has begun. It also doesn't look like the preparation season was the launch season. As the preparation season began, the slow, sometimes invisible work of formation began. Things that didn't belong were taken away, and things that weren't quite finished were built. It took patience to trust a process whose full shape wasn't always clear. The activation season is marked by movement, by the calling coming to life in a clear and measurable way, by the preparation and provision coming together in a way that makes the outcomes possible during the preparation season and real during the activation season. When the chosen one enters the activation season, their body is fully healed and their mind is working at the level it was designed for. However, their daily life is different from what it was like during the preparation season. Decisions that used to take a long time to negotiate are starting to be made with a clarity that wasn't there before. The actions that used to need sustained will start to flow naturally from a place that is in line with the calling that the integrated mind creates. During the preparation season, provision was building in the line from heaven. During the activation season, it starts to come in a form that the restored vessel can receive, not as a sudden turn of events, but as a steady and growing flow of provision that meets and then goes beyond the needs of the calling the chosen one was made to express. The rise is not happening all at once. In the activation season, there are certain times when things start to move forward. Certain combinations of planning, timing, and provision that lead to results that don't seem to fit with the cause at hand. Those are the times when the window does what it was made to do. The chosen one sees them not as coincidences, but as proof of the open line. As the calling goes on, the relationships that carry the specific parts of the provision it needs start to form and grow. Not because the chosen one acts differently when other people are around, but because the fully activated, chosen one's frequency can be read by other people, while the partially activated version could not. But the people who are supposed to be part of the activation season are drawn to the frequency of the activated calling by the same signal that brought the emergency message to this moment. Along with that, the frequency of the activated calling is now at the voltage was made to follow. During activation season, the work that needs to be done for calling also changes. The amount of work doesn't go down, but the way it's done changes from grinding forward during the preparation season to flowing forward during the activation season. The work of getting ready for the season was building up against the resistance of the unfinished. The work for the activation season is picking up speed as the whole thing moves forward. It's the difference between building against resistance and building with momentum. It's also the difference between the calling that has been expressed so far and what the activation season is meant to produce. Anyone in your life who has ever seen something in you that they couldn't quite put their finger on is about to get proof of what they saw. Everyone who gave you a word of recognition that you couldn't fully inhabit yet because the vessel wasn't fully operational is about to see you step into what they recognized. For everyone who believed in the calling before it was fully seen, it is about to become fully seen. You are not the only one who can use the activation season. That's what it says. It's a show of power. The chosen one steps into the full expression of their calling in a way that lets everyone around them believe in the full expression of what they carry. Get the full power of this emergency message over your life right now. Take it in not as information to be analyzed, but as a signal to start something. You didn't get the emergency message to make you think more about what you were doing. It was sent to move you from the state of planning completion you've been in to the state of activation commencement that this window is meant to bring about in the life of the chosen one who receives and responds to the emergency. You have been picked, not as a label to be understood in a general way, but as a real life event that is about to become clearer than it has ever been. The season for activations is starting. The window is open now. The genius switch is the exact step that the emergency told you to take. There is a link in the text, or 39 a day for 8 minutes. Getting the whole brain to work together again is what turns the preparation into the activation. The money back guarantee keeps the step safe. The call makes it happen, and the window won't stay open forever. At this very moment, I let the calling fully take over your life. I let go of the synchronized integration of the mind that turns the season of preparation into the season of activation. This turns the vision into action, the knowing into doing, and the calling into the expressed. visible, and lived reality of the life you were put together for before you were born. I let go of the restriction that was keeping the activation at a small part of the full voltage of the calling. I let go of all the voltage. I let go of the baseline shift that starts in the first genius switch session and builds and stays stable over the first few weeks to become the new normal for how your mind works. The relationships of the activation season are now coming into your life. I make room for the opportunities that have been waiting nearby for the vessel to reach its full capacity so that it can receive them. It's time for the provision that has been building up pressure in the open line from heaven to start getting to the full bandwidth that the fixed vessel can now receive and send. I give my testimony that the activation season brings about the clear, undeniable, world-changing testimony of a chosen one working at the full level of their calling. This is the testimony that lets everyone who sees it believe in the full version of who they are, what they can do, and what they carry. Every person near the activated calling asks the same question, whether they say it out loud or just to themselves in their deepest thoughts. This testimony answers that question. The question of whether or not the unthinkable is possible. The answer to that question has finally been found in the words of the chosen one who responded to the emergency and went through the activation. There is a link in the text. The danger was real. The window is wide open. The genius switch is what the window needs. Now, go. This is something God wants you to do right now. Not because someone told you to, but because the God who built the window wants you to, who sent you the emergency message and who is waiting for you on the other side of the step you are about to take. The season of preparation was building up to the activation, which is now starting. Right now is the time to think about what it means for the activation season to start with the baseline already changed. Every stage of the chosen life before this one had a ceiling that was caused by the mind carrying the calling working only partially. That ceiling kept getting in the way of the effort. It made a dent sometimes. It sometimes led to a breakthrough that lasted for a while before the ceiling came back up. But the ceiling was built while the work wasn't. And the structural ceiling always held up better than the work. Things start differently during activation season. The structural ceiling is taken down first. And what was blocked by that ceiling for decades of partial operation is now free to move. The things that have always seemed just out of reach in your life are not out of reach because you can't reach them. They are not out of reach because the calling wasn't clear, the vision wasn't right, or there wasn't enough preparation. They are out of reach because the mind was only working on a small part of what it needed to do to get close to them. The mind doesn't just bring those things closer when it works fully. In this case, you and them go from reach and miss to recognize and receive, because it was never about how far apart you were from the thing. That was the space between the half mind and the whole mind. The genius switch closes that hole. During the activation season, the time compounds in a different way than during the preparation season. Time was the tool that was used to shape the vessel during the preparation season. Every second of time added to the formation, and that addition was real, but not always clear. Time is the way that the calling is being made known during the activation season. Every second adds to the expression, and the expression, unlike the formation, can be seen. It leads to results that can be seen. Things move in the outside world in ways that other people can see, react to, and be changed by. When activation season comes around, the chosen one doesn't wait for things to happen. Right now, the chosen one is what's going on. When a chosen one enters the activation season, they feel something inside that is hard to explain to someone who hasn't been there. That, on the other hand, is clear to anyone who has seen it. It is the ability to work from a place of integration instead of fragmentation. That decision should be based on the combined output of both hemispheres instead of the outputs that are at odds with each other. When you wake up and the thing you're building feels natural and long-lasting, natural in a way that the work you did during the planning season never quite did. Of the rush of the emergency, turning into the calm of the person who responded and is now done with what they had to do. That trait isn't just found in people who were born with it. It is the experience the mind was meant to have when it works the way it was meant to. It was made for everyone who has a calling and a way to express it. And the genius switch is the precise and useful mechanism that brings back the operating conditions and creates the experience. It only needs 8 minutes a day. The experience it gives is the starting point from which the chosen one was always meant to live. The starting point that the world slowly hid over years, and that the genius switch brings back at exactly the right time for the chosen one to receive it and use it for what it was made for. Every layer that the emergency message was carrying has been sent. The outside sense of urgency that pointed to the window. That part of timing in the middle that explained why the window exists and what it was made to carry. the inside part of the specific action that pointed directly to the link in the description and the tool that link leads to. All the information that was in the emergency from the time it was sent to your life has now been decoded and sent. The layer that you write is the only one left. The layer that responds. Heat. Hey, heat. Hey, turn down the heat. Hey, 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 hey. You are about to enter your divine future. But remember, this breakthrough is not for you alone. Your testimony is the bridge someone else will use to reach their own miracle. Archangel Michael is inviting you to visit Community through the link in the description or the pinned comment. Whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our community, does not go to a channel. Your actions are supporting a divine mission to save lost souls. By joining our like-minded community, you are no longer praying in isolation. You are adding your voice to a global sanctuary where we discuss the Word daily and stand in the gap for one another. This is not poetry when Jesus says, "Give, and heaven will open over you." On this platform, every seed you plant turns into oil for your destiny, fire for your calling, and a hedge of safety for your family. Now is your time. Step into our community prayer wall, share your heart, and as you give, watch God multiply what you let go of. Let's finish this journey together. Visit our community now, join the family, and see your heavens open. Before we get to the end of this powerful story, let's reflect on this deep truth. You did not find this message by accident. This is a divine appointment meant specifically for you. You are being invited into a protected, faith-filled community at the link in the description and pinned comment, a place where divine abundance is not just a hope, but a promise built on the Word. By heading to the site right now, you are unlocking access to a sacred community of like-minded believers. When you join our membership tiers, you gain immediate entry to powerful content, daily devotions, and divine insights that are hidden from the world. This is your chance to enter a sanctuary where you will receive spiritual guidance, unwavering support on our prayer wall, and speedy progress toward your destiny. Do not let this moment of destiny pass by you. Your breakthrough is waiting. Join our inner circle through the exclusive link in the description. This is how you guarantee you never miss the personalized messages and spiritual warfare tools meant to elevate your life. If you feel called to deepen your connection, the link is waiting for you in both the pinned comment and the description. For those who want to amplify this work and carry the light home, you can find our guided e-books and Bibles in the pinned comment. Whether you join as a member or sow a seed. Through our resources, your presence and energy change the world. Take the step. Your abundance awaits.